and we are live. I'm on holiday, so I'm just going to go impromptu over the Christmas period, and I should be live on Facebook now, YouTube, and Rumble. I've got 3 green ticks, all looks good. Anyway, I'm not going to waffle on. I've got a video I want to share from Charlie Ward's channel. A lot of doctors are speaking out in the UK more and more, and as more and more comes out. So let's watch this. This is my 20-minute intro. You wouldn't normally see me straight away, but here I am, and here I go.
Hello, I'm Dr. Aisha Malik and I'm a GP in the Midlands. I'm recording this video as I've been concerned that so many patients have reported side effects since having an mRNA injection, including the boosters. Patients are reporting many symptoms, including myocarditis, which is a serious heart condition, and menstrual irregularities. I've discussed this with other GPs and medical specialists across the country who are also observing a similar pattern on a regular basis. Many doctors have spent years reassuring patients about the safety of vaccines, but in the case of the COVID vaccines, there is something different. If you as a patient have developed new symptoms, consider if and when you had the vaccination or booster and when your symptoms started. This is also a question doctors should be asking. There is international concern amongst the medical profession, and studies are also showing that there are more cases of adverse reactions than there should be. We want our patients to stay safe. When we became doctors, we took an oath to do no harm, and that oath needs to be honoured. And that's why I, alongside other medical colleagues, are asking the government to halt the vaccination programme and investigate these serious concerns.
I'm Dr. Ros Jones. I'm a paediatrician, and I've been speaking out against COVID-19 vaccines for children for the last 18 months. But we've got way beyond that now. There's an increased all-cause mortality. There are increased side effects from the booster shots. And apart from anything else, they are not effective against any of the current variants. It's simply time to stop the shots.
Hi, my name is Dr. Jana van der Pol, and I'm an NHS GP. In my entire career, I've never had any problems giving or receiving vaccines before, but in 2020, I decided not to have a COVID vaccine because I was concerned about the experimental nature of the mRNA platforms used. And in the past couple of years, I've observed a number of my patients present with severe and debilitating long COVID symptoms, not after having COVID, but after receiving their first or second COVID vaccine, or sometimes their boosters. And I've since come to understand that the spike protein itself can be extremely toxic to the human body. And I believe we need to stop deliberately exposing patients to the most toxic part of the COVID virus by giving these vaccines. Thank you.
Hi, my name's Dr. Rohan Seth. I'm a former GP. I relinquished my license to practice medicine in 2021 because I did not agree with many of the COVID policies, the lockdowns, the masking, and primarily because of the vaccine rollout. I think these vaccines are unsafe. They're not effective. The rollout is unethical and unnecessary. It's unnecessary to vaccinate children for COVID. It's unethical to vaccinate pregnant women without any long-term studies. The harms being caused by these vaccines are quite apparent now. The excess deaths around the globe are correlating with this vaccine rollout. The media are silent about this. The data is alarming, and the vaccines need to be stopped.
I'm Angus Dalgleish. I'm a professor of oncology at St George's, a consultant medical oncologist. And I have started to notice that several of my patients have melanoma who've been stable with stage 4 disease. They've had very good immunotherapy or other treatments, and I've been reviewing them from 5 to 20 years. I've noticed that I have now over 6, possibly 7, even an 8th yesterday, who've clearly relapsed following the booster vaccine. At first, we didn't put the two together, but when patients said, I felt awful since the vaccine, I've just been drained, they described symptoms of like a long COVID. And the next thing we know, 2-3 weeks, couple of months later, they've got clear evidence of relapse. And these relapses are quite aggressive. They're not a gentle relapse. They're relapses that are requiring systemic therapy as opposed to a little nodule that requires surgical excision. But it's not just this. I'm now very much aware in my own circle of many people who are having, they haven't got melanoma, but they've never had anything before, but they've got lumps and bumps and they're not feeling well. And 2 people I've interviewed at great length, they all put it down to feeling awful after their booster. They were fine with the first 2 vaccines or just had shivers, flu, etc. But they've described being very tired, very fatigued, wanting to stay in bed. And this is dragged on to the point where they've gone to the doctor and they've had blood counts and investigations. And I now know 7 of them. 2 of them have leukemias and the others have lymphomas, and 1 of them has a very bad myeloma, which he was absolutely sure was instigated by the booster as he developed the dreadful symptoms. So I want to bring to everybody's attention that I think that this does not look like a coincidence to me, and we need to join forces and see if this is a real effect, and if it is, we must stop all the boosters immediately. Thank you.
My name is Fiona. I'm a GP and I'm really concerned about the deterioration I've seen in the health of many of my patients since the rollout of the COVID-19 vaccinations, and in particularly as people have accumulated more doses. The problems include several heart attacks in fit and healthy 40 and 50-year-olds, new asthmatic symptoms in adults with no previous diagnosis, people getting chronic fatigue-type symptoms, shoulder pains, and inflammation that are continuing months after their jab. I'm also concerned about the national and international safety data that suggests something may be terribly wrong with these vaccines, and possibly may be causing changes to the immune and the vascular systems that could be long-standing. We're beginning to hear from oncologists and hematologists about unexpected and aggressive cancers, and surgeons and pathologists are talking about multiple blood clotting issues. I believe it's time we stop the vaccination program and give weight and consideration to the data. It's unethical for us to vaccinate people or indeed treat people with any medical intervention without being sure that the benefits outweigh the risks. At present, I am concerned that the risks of continuing this program greatly outweigh the benefits for the vast majority of patients. Thank you.
My name is Dr. David Cartland. As a GP and a father, I'm astounded and angry that this vaccine has been rolled out to younger and younger cohorts and has recently been authorised for use in the 6-month-old baby to 5-year-old child category. The adverse events data is unprecedented and stacking up week by week in systems that are likely underreported, such as the VAR system and yellow card system. Medicine is all about safety, and given the huge safety signals that the mRNA injections are giving off, we need to stop these shots immediately, pending urgent investigation, for the sake of our next generation and children.
Good evening. My name is Dr. Dean Patterson. I am a consultant, general physician, and cardiologist. Since the COVID-19 vaccines have been launched, I have noticed an increasing signal of both myocarditis and myocardial injury. In conjunction with this, I have noticed an increasing signal of thrombosis and other serious adverse events. Prior to the vaccine rollout, I didn't witness any evidence of myocarditis in relation to the COVID infection itself. Over the last 2 years, we've witnessed an increase in the loss of the efficacy of the COVID-19 vaccines. The COVID-19 vaccines clearly lack durability, and hence the recommendation has constantly been amended to go from first 2 vaccinations followed by a booster to regular campaigning for ongoing booster vaccination. If there was a very clear absence of serious harms, then this strategy might be acceptable. However, in light of my serious concerns, I believe we should halt the rollout of the vaccination program and perform a thorough investigation into the serious adverse events. After all, the preliminary studies that have been done in these vaccines are yet to be completed in 2023, and almost the entire placebo group in these studies has now been vaccinated, making extrapolation of the harms extremely difficult. At present, we're seeing a wave of non-COVID excess mortality, which brings me to my conclusion that there is serious harm in association with the vaccine rollout. And until proven otherwise, these vaccines are not safe.
My name is Dr. Anna Forbes, and I place tremendous importance on listening to what my patients have to say to me. And many of my patients have been telling me that they've been feeling increasingly unwell to varying degrees since their COVID-19 vaccinations, and that they have not been listened to by their usual doctors, and this has not been investigated any further. And I believe that this whole situation demands immediate and deep investigation.
Hello, I'm Tony Hinton, a London surgeon. I know many people who've had the COVID vaccine and then caught COVID. I also know a lot of people that have had side effects following a COVID vaccine. So what do we think? Safe and effective, or just stop the shots?
My name is Dr. Julia Wilkins, and I'm a consultant in obstetrics and gynecology. In the UK, the MHRA is tasked with the monitoring of adverse events related to the use of medicines or devices in healthcare. As a regulator, they are supposed to take action when significant safety signals are recognised. The MHRA has regularly published summaries of yellow card reports submitted by people who have experienced adverse events after a COVID-19 vaccine. The summary published on the 1st of December 2022 indicates almost 500,000 reports, which is about 1 in 114 people who have received a vaccine. This includes 2,362 deaths. It also includes over 30,000 acute cardiac events and almost 300,000 nervous system disorders, as well as many more serious and potentially life-threatening conditions. Whilst these reports obviously cannot be taken as proof of causality, these numbers are huge and as such unprecedented, and also reflected in the adverse events reporting systems in the US, in Europe, and by the WHO. Meanwhile, it has become clear that COVID-19 vaccines do not prevent infection or transmission. They are meant to reduce hospitalization and death, but even compared to the first year of the pandemic, a significant increase in excess mortality has been observed in the last 2 years. This increase across all age groups has occurred, at least in Scotland, in temporal association with the COVID-19 vaccine rollout. There has also been a significant increase in cardiac morbidity, and now several studies indicating COVID-19 vaccines to increase the risks of myocarditis. Unprecedented numbers of sudden death in all age groups, including children, have been reported, also including many athletes suddenly collapsing in training or on the playing field. Post-marketing surveillance is essential when a new pharmaceutical product is given to the majority of populations without robust and long-term safety data, as even the regulatory trials were ended prematurely. If this was taken as seriously as we have always assumed it would be, these numerous and alarming safety signals should have led to a thorough investigation whilst halting any further administrations. It is inconceivable that to date this has not been pursued, And so, in the interest of the safety of our population, we must call for an immediate and comprehensive evaluation of all the available data. And whilst this investigation is ongoing, we must stop the shots.
It's not possible and irresponsible to declare a new pharmaceutical product safe in pregnancy. Time is needed to monitor the unborn baby and then the growing child. Have we forgotten thalidomide? It's not evidence-based medicine to tell pregnant women to take these shots. We have got to stop the shots.
Dr. Teslari here. There's more than enough evidence to show that the COVID injections are not safe and they're not effective. Let's stop the shots now.
Hello, I'm Dr. Claire Craig, co-chair of the Health Advisory and Recovery team. I want to talk to you about why what you've been told about these COVID vaccines does not stand up to scrutiny. First of all, regarding safety, there are a number of problems that have been recognised as linked to vaccination with people who have been injured by them. But there's also a reason to be concerned about cardiac disease risk as a result of vaccination, and this needs to be investigated. So the reasons for concern are as follows. First of all, there was a paper that showed people who had been vaccinated had higher scores on risk factors that lead to coronary artery disease. Secondly, there was a study that came out of Israel showing a 25% increase in cardiac arrest and coronary syndromes in 16 to 39-year-olds. We saw in England 14,000 more cardiac arrests in 2021 than there were in 2020. We've seen a rise in cardiac excess deaths, which has happened since the beginning of the vaccine rollout and continues now with no other explanation for them. We've seen post-mortem studies that have linked vaccine to such cardiac deaths, including one where vaccine-induced spike protein was present in the muscle of the heart, and another where there was vaccine-induced inflammation of the arteries of the heart that caused death in somebody 4 months after their last dose. We've also had a problem with data not being shared. And one concern I have is that the Office of National Statistics were producing regularly data on deaths by vaccination status, but have produced nothing since May 2022. Finally, you may have heard the claim that 20 million lives have been saved by these vaccines, but that does not stand up to scrutiny. It is another fantasy based yet again on modelling that bears no relation to the real world data. So it's time to stop these shots and start an investigation into these cardiac excess deaths.
Dr. Elizabeth Evans, retired doctor and director of the UK Medical Freedom Alliance. There is now overwhelming evidence showing that the COVID vaccines are neither safe enough nor effective, and that the risks far outweigh the benefits, particularly for the young and healthy. This violates a fundamental principle of medical ethics, that we must first do no harm. The rollout has also been carried out in a way that undermines the ethical process of informed consent, with coercive policies and messaging, exaggeration of benefits, and failure to fully disclose risks. It is time to halt the rollout. We must stop the shots.
Hi, I'm Dr. Angela Musso, international GP, former UK HSA public health officer. COVID-19 vaccines are not safe and effective due to insufficient evidence.
Billy Ralph, family physician, Ireland. These jabs, these COVID vaccines are not as safe and effective as alleged, and they're especially not safe or effective for children. So stop the jabs.
Dr. Ali Ajaz, consultant forensic psychiatrist, lecturer, researcher. I left the NHS because I refused to take the COVID-19 jab. I refused to take the jab because I did my own research. COVID-19 jabs are not safe and they are not proven effective. And this is the experience of frontline doctors across the world and published scientific research. If you look for it, you will see it. It's time to do the right thing. Let's stop the jabs now.
Yes, we will win. Now, comically, I think I may be the only person that was famous before they did a podcast. And now, I'm not. I say that loosely, being famous. I just had loads of friends. Now I've got no viewers. But I have caught my regulars unaware by going live 2 hours early on the wrong day today. But it's Christmas and I'm sitting about getting over the lurg and I'm live. So, thank you very much to Charlie Ward TV for that video he put together. I've heard him say many times, I hope you don't mind me sharing it, but I wouldn't have thought he minded because he's put it out there live, obviously, on his BitChute and Rumble, and it's all about getting the word out, isn't it? So, well done, Charlie. I've heard you talking many times in the past about whistleblowers and doctors that have spoke to you and stuff, and you haven't been able to show the footage or anything like that. I imagine that's an amalgamation of some of the stuff you've got. So, well done. Keep up the good work. Right, anyway, let's, what do I say? No, I haven't really got anything to say, I don't think. Let's put that, scroll on there, let's put the comments on in case anyone joins. I want to share, let's go through Twooth. Let's go through Twooth. Because we've just had this Curry Lake court case and the judge is away deliberating at the moment. This could turn it all on its head. I've just watched LT and we know, and there's a loads of things possibly coming together. We all want a massive major Christmas, don't we? And some red pill booms and that. So let's see what happens. But there's no date fagging. Anyway, the FBI have responded to the Twitter files with a load of bollocks, basically. Or what a lot of people suggest might be a lot of bollocks.
We are getting our first response from the FBI to the Twitter file dumps. The statement reads, the correspondence between the FBI and Twitter show nothing more than examples of our traditional, long-standing and ongoing federal government and private sector engagements which involve numerous companies over multiple sectors and industries. As evidenced in the correspondence, the FBI provides critical information to the private sector in an effort to allow them to protect themselves and their customers. The men and women of the FBI work every day to protect the American public. It is unfortunate that conspiracy theorists and others are feeding the American public misinformation with the sole purpose of attempting to discredit the agency. That just in. John?
All right.
I don't think anyone's got a sole purpose of discrediting the agency. I think what people are doing are looking for evidence that they are discrediting themselves. There's a lot of chatter, isn't there, about how certain agencies use private companies and stuff, so you can't go in and look at their books and all these sorts of things. Anyway, that is a story developing. I don't really know what I'm talking about there, so we'll see what happens. Missing various reports.
As importantly, or even much more importantly, we have an amazing piece by Vigilant Fox, who is a blogger, and I'm proud to say that we've just had him join our distinguished roster of commentators. Also recently, the amazing Claire Dooley, documentarian, and the amazing Eitana Hecht, the Israeli journalist, have all joined Daily Clout. Well, Vigilant Fox did a really important piece that's up on Daily Clout and on his Substack, Missing VAERS Reports. And Dr. Ely, whom you know of because he's been a leader with Senator Linthicum and Senator Thatcher, state senators in Oregon, for a grand jury investigation in Oregon, launched from Oregon into CDC willful misconduct in handling the VAERS data. Dr. Ely has confirmed, and Jessica Rose also confirms independently, that CDC, meaning Dr. Walensky, has removed 32,000 plus records of myocarditis and pericarditis from the VAERS database between September of 2022 and December of 2022. So everyone, please absorb that. The head of the CDC, the job of the CDC is to monitor signals in databases like the VAERS database, which belongs to Dr. Walensky. It's her job to notice signals, as we discussed last time I was on the show, and we talked about the 108,000 rows of hypertension results that broke the pipeline. There were so many that she hadn't noticed. Well, she's covering her tracks, and she's engaging in more criminal conduct, it certainly appears, because she's covering up the scene of a crime. And she's doing it not coincidentally after, or while, I should say, because some of it began before the announcement, but while Governor DeSantis of Florida has announced that he too is pursuing a grand jury investigation into malfeasance around the vaccine. And Dr. Latipo, who's his medical advisor in Florida, has made it clear, as has Governor DeSantis, that the focus of their investigation is going to be myocarditis and pericarditis cases, and lies and fraud and concealment around those, and harms that were not. And I think, honestly, I think they took, as they should, some of their approach from one of our Daily Clout War Room research volunteers reports that showed that there was a 4-month delay. This was Dr. Chris Flowers and his team wrote this, our people, 4-month delay between the first that the FDA and Pfizer knew of myocarditis in young adults and teens a week after injection versus 4 months later when the government agencies issued a press release. So this is huge. Dr. Walensky is erasing 32,000 plus individual records in the database that exists to record problems with a vaccine and to allow a vaccine to be withdrawn. And remember, there were only 50 deaths with the swine flu vaccine. It was like, no, pull it, it's over. Well, there have been 31,000 deaths in VAERS and millions of disabilities. And all of this is in Vigilant Fox's wonderful summary of this. So that's pretty huge. And I actually reached out to Dr. Latipo and asked him to be in contact. I hope he hears this and responds, because Dr. Ely and Senator Linthicum and Senator Thatcher have done an extraordinary job amassing all of this evidence of willful misconduct. And now we see even more of it on the part of Dr. Walensky and the CDC. So she needs to be in a jail cell as quickly as possible. As importantly, or even much more importantly.
Shush, please. Thank you, Naomi. Today we learned from Stephen Richer, under oath, that Maricopa County broke chain of custody and didn't follow the law to count ballots at the precinct. We also learned that 19-inch ballots were printed on 20-inch paper. I don't think there's any getting away from this one for them, causing mass chaos with tabulators rejecting them county-wide. So what's the Associated Press takeaway from the trial? First day lacks bombshells. Oh, right. The fake news can gaslight, spin and lie as much as they want right now, but what will they say when Carrie actually wins the lawsuit? What's that? Quiet, please. Let's do it. I didn't pause that. Russell didn't pop up. Lake's trial to be named governor lacks first day bombshells. Of course it does. Patel Patriot headbutt John. Based on the week we've had, this old tweet is rather fitting. Yeah, Donald Trump from 2014. I hope we never find life on other planets, because there is no doubt that the US government will start sending them money. With what's just gone on with Zelensky and stuff coming into DC. Yeah, talk about that in a bit. No amnesty. Our border is open because Joe Biden has ordered it to be open, because Biden has broken the law and torn it to shreds. This is Trump making another little 3 minutes.
Far more illegal immigrants have entered the United States in the last 2 years than at any time in American history, and by a massive margin. We've never seen anything like it. Our country is under invasion. Days ago, 16,000 illegal aliens were encountered crossing the border in a single 48-hour period. A colossal migrant caravan recently poured across the Rio Grande and into the streets of El Paso, Texas, and the people and the police didn't know what to do about it. It is truly a massive invasion. Any form of amnesty now would be a catastrophe. It rewards Joe Biden's lawlessness, and it rewards the criminal cartels, and it rewards everyone who has broken the laws of our nation, because they've never done anything to our country like they're doing right now. Our country is being poisoned. Remember, our border is not open because of insufficient resources or legal authorities. Our border is open because Joe Biden has ordered it to be open, and because Biden has broken the law and torn it into shreds. He has shredded our system, and he's destroying our country. Biden inherited a flawless deportation system that was working like never before. In our history, we never did so well on the border as we were doing just a short time ago under the Trump administration. Giving Biden more resources will simply translate to even more releases, because that's really what they have in mind. This has nothing to do with asylum. Everyone knows this is a pretext, and this is a fraud. Anyone who pretends otherwise plays into the hands of Biden and the criminal cartels. This is about Biden's lawless and criminal misconduct. The most important reform needed right now is a total ban on Biden using taxpayer dollars to free illegal aliens, and criminal penalties for administrative non-compliance, which happens every single minute of every single day.
Yes. Trumpy. There's a little one here for you iPhone users.
Here's something I didn't know until I was in my 30s. The iPhone shapes you draw on your phone can look nice. Picture, edit, markup, arrow, hold, nice arrow, circle, hold, Nice circle. Draw shape. Hold. Nice shape. Star? Nice star. Ah.
I wish this wouldn't do this. I wish this would just stop. Like that. Yeah, I'll just put that in there for a bit of fun. Breaking news. Anonymous made a little post. I should be mindful that we know Anonymous was infiltrated some years back, and many of us look at this stuff with massive side eyes. This comes from Jennifer Mack and Kellyanne Hub News, so probably carries some weight. Sounds like Anonymous has moved to Yorkshire, though. Chuckle. Listen.
Greetings from Anonymous. This message is for the people of America. We have been watching your elections closely for some time. While there are thousands of dedicated Americans who work tirelessly to safeguard your voting ballots in the spirit of your constitutional republic, there are also some extremely bad influences which have unlawfully affected the outcome of your most recent elections. The bad influences include foreign governments and their intelligence agencies, drug cartels, the mafia, money launderers, fentanyl distributors, and human traffickers, as well as those dealing in child pornography and prostitution. These criminals make up the worst of the worst organizations on the planet. They think they can hide. They cannot. They think they are untouchable. They are not. They think they will not get caught. They will. They are an existential threat to the principal foundations the United States was built upon. The right to vote for the leaders you want to lead you makes America a beacon of hope to those in less fortunate countries. It doesn't matter if you are Democrat, Republican, or Independent. Election integrity is directly proportional to the secure environment in which it is held. Those who oppose efforts to ensure a fair and honest election undermine one of the most sacred rights the people of a democracy have, the right to vote. These criminal organizations seek influence over the world's greatest economy, its strongest military, its incredibly advanced technology, its global intelligence reach, and its $6.5 trillion annual budget. Unfortunately, good Americans have been captured by these evil forces. They have been coerced into collaborating with this enemy to manipulate your election results, affecting not just Americans, but all the citizens of the world. We currently have our eyes on Arizona, and we are looking into the elections held there. What we have found so far is disturbing. To those who have tampered with the elections, we know who you are. We know what you did. We know where you did it. We know why you did it. We know how you did it. We followed the money. We know from where it came. We will expose you. All of you. It's time to do right by the people of Arizona and the United States. Good people of the American intelligence and law enforcement agencies, it is time to stand up against those who attempt to usurp your constitutional republic. You know who these forces are, your agencies are littered with them. As John F. Kennedy reminded you, if not us, who? If not now, when? And as your General George S. Patton reflected, do more than is required of you. We are anonymous. We are legion. We do not forgive. We do not forget. Expect us.
Got to show it, haven't we? Meanwhile, in Canada, they're still at it in Canada.
Well, kids, I'm just doing my yearly call to the North Pole for Santa's holiday health check.
Ho, 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 ho.
Why, hello, Dr. Tan. Mrs. Claus, so good to see you again. Where did Santa go?
Oh, Santa was late for snow yoga with the elves and reindeer. He says it's great cross-training for sleigh driving.
Sounds fun. Are you all set for the holiday season?
Of course, I must say, Dr. Tam, it just warms my heart to see everyone in Canada, especially kids, working so hard to keep the holidays safe and cheerful for all.
So am I, Mrs. Claus. Every child in Canada has definitely earned a place on the nice list. Their parents and caregivers too. It's been a tough season with lots of viruses making people sick.
Thankfully, Santa and I are feeling as healthy as ever. We are both up to date with our vaccinations, including COVID boosters and flu shots.
That's so good to hear.
I always tell Santa to make a list and check it twice. 1. Stay up to date on your vaccinations. 2. Wear a mask in crowded indoor places and make sure it fits nice and snug. 3. Wash your hands to the tune of jingle bells, jingle all the way.
Great advice. Great voice too. Also, you can be sure to stay at home if you're feeling sick. And if you're gathering indoors with other people or else, open a door or a window for a few minutes at a time to let in some fresh air. The more items you check off the list, the more protected you are.
Yes, you can think of it like decorating a tree. You need tinsel, lights, ornaments, and the star on top. The tree is at its best when all the decorations are up and nicely layered.
Thanks, Mrs. Claus. Happy holidays, everyone.
Great advice. That is so bad. What? When we see stuff like that is so bad, you would think they got better actors, wouldn't you? Or are they? I mean, the lady on the left, I think we've seen her before anyway, but get people that I think it's bad on purpose. That's what I'm hoping anyway. Dan Scavino put this image out. I wonder what special gifts Santa has for us. We've been here before, haven't we? So we'll wait and see. I've got no Freudian slip here.
Because this is a big assistance, and I hope that the Congress will approve this financial assistance for our country. This is all
For our claim.
because this is a big.
That's how I do that. I'll press it twice. No, I don't. That's really annoying. Breaking news. Sam Bankman-Fried's ex-girlfriend and his FTX co-founder both plead guilty to federal charges. Well, he's been released as well, hasn't he? He's been released on, well, they said he paid 250 million bail, but he did not. I believe someone else has posted something to the contrary. Bit of Rogan.
There's a lot of people that don't want any criticism. People have opinions. They just do. You can't stop them. You can't change their opinions. You know, you can just be you. You got to be you. But some people are just not good at it. They're not good at it. And as a group, if you've achieved protected status, like a lot of people, they feel like they categorize trans people in a protected class because they've been maligned and because they've been discriminated against. Now they're in a superposition, you know, like some quantum physics shit. you can't even criticize them, even if they're murderers. Even if they've brutally raped and murdered their ex-girlfriend, you still have to call them a woman. Even if they were a man at the time, still it's a woman. It's very rare for a woman to do this. Is it? Is it also rare for a woman to have a dick? Because what are we doing? What the fuck are we doing? But it's not anymore.
So is it like it is? Now, this is an image. I don't know if I can make that any bigger for you. No. Scott Jarrett, there are 9. This is what we found out with this Arizona election. And there are 19-inch ballots in Maricopa County, which are meant to be printed. Can you see what? Yeah. Which are meant to be printed on this 20-inch paper. Obviously, if a 19-inch ballot goes through, obviously lots of people wouldn't have noticed this, would they? If a 19-inch ballot goes through on the wrong size paper, it gets kicked out. So let's see what happens. The judges deliberating at the moment. If you want a really good, concise catch-up, go and watch the latest And We Know from today. Or was it yesterday? 22nd. looks like this testimony 19. I've just got a couple of clips from the court case.
Sir, I want to go back to the earlier question about the 19-inch ballot image being placed on a 20-inch paper. Did you hear of any reports of that occurring in the 2022 general election?
I did not.
If that occurred, would that be a failure of Maricopa County's election process?
I'm not aware of it occurring, and I'd be surprised if there was a ballot on demand printer that had a 19-inch ballot on it.
Okay, I understand that, sir.
And the reason why is we did not design a 2022 general election on a 19-inch ballot. That ballot does not exist. The only ballot that exists is a 20-inch ballot.
Okay. And when you say we designed, who designed the ballot? Is that outsourced to another company, or is that done in-house by Maricopa?
In-house by Maricopa County's staff.
What department would that staff fall under? Is there a specific name for it?
Our ballot tabulation team. So it reports to me.
Okay. And do you maintain records as to the ballot definition that was created for the 2022 general election?
Yes, we have records of all the ballots that were designed.
And so I'll go back to my question again. If a 19-inch ballot image was put on a 20-inch paper in the 2022 general election, would that be a failure of your election process?
It would, if something like that happened, which I don't know how it would, yes, it would have been a mistake.
Could that have also been a deliberate act?
Boom, boom, boom.
Again, you're asking me to speculate about things that I have no knowledge of occurring. So I don't know if it could have been a deliberate act or not. I don't believe that that occurred.
How involved are you in creating the ballot definition?
So my team does, and then I overview it, and I'll review examples of those. Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Jarrett. Don't have any further questions.
So, what do you think about him? Telling the truth? Telling the yarn? Actually, Hofstra experts witness testifies that ballots inspected yesterday were 19-inch ballots, yeah, and there was no way it was done by accident. So, he seems quite sheepish in the matter, doesn't he?
Having a 19-inch ballot image projected on a 20-inch ballot, as you observed, appearing from ballots cast in 6 different vote centers. Yes. Duplicated ballots, spoiled ballots. That could only arise from, could it be by accident or is it?
No, sir. It could not be by accident. Those are configuration changes that are administrative level on the printer, or they're with a ballot and style or ballot definition file. Okay. And those are done on the EMS system, which has password security and everything else. You have to add, the EED application is actually the one that creates the ballot style. That's what's used. It's commonly put on the EMS server because that's like the centerpiece. And those 2 systems are controlled access.
You testified earlier that you have been involved in other assessments of failures relating to cyber-related issues, correct?
Yes, sir.
And that we call that a root cause analysis, correct?
Yes, sir. I was part of the working group that established what's called the IRA process, which is a risk analysis and assessment process for the Missile Defense Agency years ago. It's a standard risk analysis and assessment. And in order to do that, that's the basis of how you analyze threat. And then you also, that's why you conduct root cause analysis, because you have to be specific when you assess risk, excuse me.
In in the performance, in your experience, and you testified earlier that the federal government that had actually criminally prosecuted people based on your findings in a root cause analysis?
Yes, sir. And sometimes they ignored my analysis, but that's beyond.
Given your opinion that, strike that, given your opinion and your knowledge of how ballot definitions are configured and how printers work, does your finding of a 19-inch image, ballot image placed on 20-inch paper, does that implicate violations of criminal law?
Wait, hold on before you answer that.
Objection, Your Honor. Calls for speculation, lack of foundation, and that calls for a legal conclusion.
Does call for a legal conclusion.
Your Honor, the witness has testified that.
I heard.
Yes, Your Honor. I'll sit down.
Legal jingo.
Ballots were received back from the drop boxes. And her concern was that specifically the seals were being removed when the ballots were received back from the drop boxes. And her concern was that specifically the seals were being removed from the transport containers, and the ballots inside were not counted. That was a requirement as she understood it, and the fact that they were just taking those ballots out of the transport containers without counting them was her primary concern.
And then, okay, so we have two different people you have spoken to working in two different places, correct?
Correct.
One's here at Runbeck, the third-party vendor, and one's here at McTech, right? MCTech?
Mm-hmm.
All right. And both of them are both telling you that there was no chain of custody on election day for ballots being transported from MCTech to Runbeck. Is that correct?
Correct. They weren't following the legal requirements for chain of custody. So there were seals on the containers when they transported them, but the specific issues were that they were just cutting them open, taking the ballots out, putting them in trays without regard to how many, or there was no documentation. There were handbags and purses where they were processing the ballots. That was
I mean, for me personally, the longer this goes on, the more I'm astounded as to how many people are involved in this. You get people saying, do you know how many people will have to be involved in that to keep it a secret? Yes. And we're finding this more and more, aren't we? With, when I think this judge is a good one in this, but there's so many are not, are they? And when you watch these things play out and the corruption behind the scenes, obvious corruption with people who get let go and people that don't get let go, normal people versus, how much money you've got, what circles you run in, etc. But if you want to get loads of people involved in a deception or something like that, you pay them off or you compromise them, don't you? Anyway, eyes on this case. Let's see how it plays out. Oh, now I just wanted to put Benny Johnson. I won't look at that. Basically, if you want to look at all the Zelensky footage, go on Benny Johnson's Twitter. This made me laugh from Twisted Sister. UK recession, King Charles handing out sausages to the starving. Funny. Now, this is Dr. Sukharat Bhakti. Immunology professor Dr. Bhakti warns every injected mRNA vaccine will cause severe damage in our body and must be forbidden. The WHO is financed by Bill Gates, tend to use mRNA injections for all vaccinations on the earth. This cannot be allowed to happen. No, it cannot.
Now, if I am here today, it's for a very special reason. 4 weeks ago, I don't know whether you saw the video released by the WHO, where they proclaimed that it was their intent to introduce mRNA vaccines for all vaccinations on Earth, and then go from there to the treatment of all other diseases, including cancer, etc. What people do not understand is that all mRNA vaccines are dangerous and are going to threaten life. It does not matter whether the vaccine encodes for the spike protein, for the measles protein, for rubella, for the flu. It does not matter at all. Why? Because the whole danger of the vaccine stems from the ability of the immune system to recognize non-self. This cannot be allowed to happen. Even if the WHO said so, don't. And remember, and this is the last thing I want to say, the WHO is a private club, like a private football club, a club that is being financed, has been financed at the top by what? Bill Gates. Bill Gates is now number 2. Who is the top financier? Germany. The German taxpayers are financing the WHO and enforcing mRNA vaccination. You can't do this. You can't let your children be vaccinated because they are changing mankind. All your personality is going to be changed. Your brain is being changed, and your heart is being weakened. Every injected mRNA vaccine is going to cause severe damage in our body and must be forbidden. Thank you.
More powerful words there from Sukharat. Devolution 108, brilliant episode. It's well worth watching. I do love the Babylon Bee. Home study shows kids who are homeschooled could miss out on opportunity to be a gay communist. Chuckle. Yeah, that was some English for Trump. Charlie Kirk. Rarely does betraying one's country get caught on camera. This is what's happened in Congress. Basically, Zelensky was invited over to speak. They might as well all give him fucking BJ on the way in, basically, by the way they were looking at him. A few people sat down. Lauren Boebert, Matt Gaetz didn't give him any applause whatsoever. Did they really do that? Fuck me, that's crazy, yeah. Slava Ukraini, right? Derek Evans, this is, you are a disgrace to wave the flag of another country inside our capital. If I was there, I would have ripped up that Ukrainian flag the same way you ripped up Trump's speech. Exactly. This is, for a lot of us that have been looking at this for quite a while, it's really hard to believe that there's so many people that, you don't need all these people involved, do you, to make a movie? You just need a couple of people in key positions and the rest will just follow along, won't they? Let's see what happens. Anyway, be extra cautious. The mainstream media parrots have received their script. Yes, they have. Again, we've seen loads of videos like this, haven't we? But this is really current.
To be even more cautious when reading about COVID on Twitter.
Be extra cautious when you're looking for health information in the Twitterverse.
The company drops its COVID misinformation policy.
Twitter has dropped its COVID-19 misinformation policy.
Be cautious while looking for health information in the Twitterverse.
Be extra cautious while looking for health information in the Twitterverse.
Be extra cautious while looking for health information in the Twitterverse.
Be extra cautious while looking for health information in the Twitterverse.
Be extra cautious while looking for health information on the Twitterverse.
Be extra cautious while looking for health information on the Twitterverse. Be extra cautious while looking for health information in the Twitterverse. Be extra cautious while looking for health information on Twitter. Be extra cautious while looking at health information on Twitter. Be extra cautious while looking for health information on Twitter. Be extra cautious while looking for health information on Twitter.
Be extra cautious while you're looking for health information on Twitter.
Be extra cautious while looking for health information on Twitter.
Now, I was just looking for dates all the way through that. Oh, that says Monday the 1st of March 2021, I think. So obviously someone's put that together. It's not as current as I thought, but there we go. That's what we do when we dig into things. How Twitter quietly colluded with Satan, the Prince of Darkness. That's not real. That's just a thread someone wrote. When I'm inaugurated, Trump.com speech. This is from Kerry Cassidy. Shall I read this out? In Nino's discussion with Warren on the 18th, good job Nino and Warren, however, this com was key in Trump's speech where he said, when I am inaugurated. People are missing this. It's not about 2024. In essence, he was talking about the fact when you win an election, which he won 2020, after that, you get inaugurated. So has he been waiting for 2 years to be inaugurated? When the election still is revealed, he will be reinstated and inaugurated. When is that? Asked Kerry. Well, it might be March 2023 when the Republic reinstates and inaugurates him as the real winner of the 2020 election, as the 19th president of the Republic. Or it might be when the Brunson case overturns the election, or it might be when the White Hats somehow prove through the release of blockchain evidence of the actual votes. So Trump is the rightful winner and he is president. The military knows this. No one told the American people. He has to be inaugurated in a public ceremony. If you listen to Derek Johnson, he was, but only for those with eyes to see and the knowledge of military protocols, i.e. behind the scenes. The American people are deceived here, and even the White Hats are continuing the deception. Why? And when will they make it public? Any day of the week it could happen. So why don't the Q White Hats come out with guns blazing? Showing the evidence on Twitter, which they now run, and all the media, alternative and mainstream, where they can get access to the commander and commandeer the airwaves. Why are they holding back? This is what demonstrates they have some vested interest in not revealing the truth, because allowing for the deception to continue serves some purpose in their plan. However, when Trump said in his speech, when I am inaugurated, he was revealing that is an event that will happen. The White Hats, a blanket term to cover the Trump Q White Hat military and civilian political team. They are motivated by a few key things. One, to avoid civil war, which serves the dark side to break up and destroy America. Two, to avoid a mad scenario, mutually assured destruction of all key players on both sides. Three, to wait for certain other events to happen first. So their announcement of Trump as the current president will be received by the general public as a fait accompli with very little pushback. The question on this is, will that ever happen, given the real fact that the country is still split and the mainstream media still maintains their dominance in the minds of everyday Americans who never watch or listen to alternative media? They are still fully MK Ultra mind control masses. 4, There is always some unspoken rule or agreement with the dark side that Trump white hats, like in The Godfather, never come forward and state the real obvious truth, because that would mean all-out war between the two sides where people would die. Number 5, the unknowns. Yeah, number 4, that's like saying, if you come out and tell the people what's been going on, we're going to let this nuclear weapon off over here and take out a load of people. There's been much discussion about that over the last few years. Anyway, for example, if the White Hats ever press their true advantage out of the mouth of Trump, this is what I should have just waited and read this, in public forum where the mainstream media has to run it, that is tantamount to declaring all-out war. So, for example, if Trump came forward and announced on the steps of Mar-a-Lago, I am president, Biden is a puppet, we have been allowing that dog and pony show to run things with some interference from our American military. We've been doing tribunals, executing well-known politicians, Hollywood actors and famous people, and other well-known people who participated in the torture of children by taking adrenochrome or participated in person during the satanic ceremonies. The ones you have seen walking around are clones, doubles and actors. We have been holding military trials offshore and at the White House and executing the traitors who committed treason by participating willingly in stealing the election, etc. How do you think the American people would react? How do you think the British people would react? Laugh, ridicule, demonstrate, faint, hit the streets and rejoice? How do you think the remaining military, not under Trump's control, would act or react? How would Biden's fake government officials be forced to act? Well, who are their friends? Klaus Schwab of the New World Order, sending the UN forces, bomb Mar-a-Lago, the list goes on. Think about it because this is where we are. And this, she says, this is Trump's December the 15th speech. So, this is very interesting. It's not popular to film death. No. He goes to check on his friend after seeing fire and rescue. The ambulance sirens are constant everywhere. You don't see anything on this anyway.
So,
apart from the guy's sort of legs and that.
So my first time going live. So this ain't a joke, guys. I know this guy, he took the second dose of the vaccine. After he took the second dose, he caught pneumonia. And I've been kind of talking to him because he's been telling me what's going on. And I haven't heard from him in 3 days. And today, we have fire trucks coming to his room, and he actually might be dead. He might be dead after the second dose of the vaccine. He's done. No videotaping. He's done, guys. He's done. He's done. People need to know, man. The government's forcing people to take vaccines. And look what happened to him.
So we can't say for sure.
He took the second dose.
But that doesn't mean that he died because
He caught pneumonia after the second dose. You guys are denying it because you guys are getting paid by the government.
No, that's not true at all.
100%. These guys.
Please go downstairs.
Okay.
We need to give him some dignity about his death. Okay?
Give him some dignity about his death, but let's not mention the fact that he took the second dose of the vaccine.
Loads of videos coming out, so many videos. I watched the Carrie Lake. Hello, Matt. Nice to see you. So I'm a bit early. I just wanted to get on with it today, and a day early. Whatever, it's Christmas. I watched Carrie Lake on Bandless Media. Patel Patriot, CanCon, and Praying Medic joined them. That was really interesting. The court case was dull. Me personally, I don't really understand what's going on. You know, you can get the gist of a lot of it, but I like listening to people talk about it afterwards, and those three did a really good job. That's like an 8.5 hour show if you want to go and watch it and catch that. Kim.com has been talking to Elon Musk and stuff, obviously. not in this bit, but when you thought the world couldn't get any crazier, the FBI now claims that the words of its own agents in tons of emails revealed by the Twitter files are conspiracy theories and misinformation. And that was from the statement that I pressed first. It's unfortunate that conspiracy theorists and others are feeding the American public misinformation with the sole purpose of attempting to discredit the agency. Oh, really? I should really put on here who writes these posts, because this wasn't me. Months ago, I suggested Elon was laying the framework to lead mankind to a direct democracy, like ancient Greece, where every citizen took place in public debate and voted directly, not via representation. Democracy in its true form. Representative democracy has proven to be a failure. Our representatives do not act by the will of the people. I imagine a future where every citizen has the opportunity to directly take part in these decisions, making a Congress obsolete. Exactly, the public has spoken. This is what I think Elon is doing by all these polls. They are overwhelmingly against this giant spending bill, but then Congress pushed it through, didn't they? This poll was about 80-90%, I believe. So wouldn't that be great? People have been talking this for ages about if we get a Q phone or something like that comes out, and whether we can all vote on the blockchain. You can do these things in minutes, can't you? The whole of a country could vote on a policy within an hour, couldn't they? Everyone tap A, B, C or D into your phones. It'd be like, who wants to be a millionaire but for government public policy? Yeah. Factually, the best moment of the Carrie Lake trial so far. Now, this is one of the, I don't know the difference between, I don't know who's the defence and who's the prosecution. Anyway, it doesn't matter. She's a good one, and he's quite possibly, but don't quote me on it, Team Swamp. This is magic, this.
You're not an attorney, correct? Okay. So I'm going to ask you a legal question, but you only have to answer if you have an understanding about it. If you don't have an understanding, it's perfectly fine to say, I don't know. Are you aware that under Arizona law, a ballot is not actually unlawful if it is, the term that's used sometimes is harvested or ballot collection, but if somebody who is not authorized to handle it deposits it, or like what happened at Runback, if somebody brings it and inserts it into the stream, but not into a designated authorized drop box. Are you aware that under Arizona law that is not actually an unlawful ballot?
I think the term in the law is an invalid ballot.
Okay. Just 1 minute, Your Honor. Mm-hmm. No more questions. Thank you very much, Ms. Sunny.
That is a classic. Honestly, that is a classic. What was that other thing? No more questions. Oh, that was in My Cousin Vinny, wasn't it? No more questions. Yeah, excellent. The last 7 days, this was from the Texas one, last 7 days, Lyndon B. Johnson was a KKK member. The CIA killed JFK. FBI paid Twitter over $3 million to ignore child exploitation and censor conservatives and frontline doctors. The FDA admits the COVID vaccine causes blood clots. Twitter had a gaggle of 80 FBI agents on the payroll in the last week. Stuff that's coming out. Stuff that we've done for a long time anyway. In the last month, it's been revealed that the CIA has been lying about their involvement in the JFK assassination. The FBI colluded with Twitter to hide the evidence of the Hunter Biden's laptop, and the CDC knew that vaccines did not stop transmission, but did not disclose. It's all coming out. Kim.com retweeted, Candace Owens, the same people who spent years calling everyone a Nazi are the exact same people who are now telling us that it's our duty to financially support the real life swastika wearing neo-Nazis in Ukraine. Watch the Azov battalion recruitment videos. Somebody make it make sense. Jack Posobiec replied, the Christchurch shooter said he received training from Azov in Ukraine, and for some reason no one talks about this. Funny that, isn't it? Kim.com again. In the near future, my legal team and I will present our strategy to Elon Musk. We have created a working group. If you are a legal expert or law professor who would like to join, email superyacht@gmail.com. Let's take the deep state to court for what they did. What do you think? Awesome, let's do it 90%. Now, I'm one of the people that believes military tribunals have been and are going on. But the more the merrier, eh? This is what I'm trying to express. We have technology and the means to have direct citizen involvement in government via Twitter or any social media poll. This would also require the government to pass one-topic bills like Trump suggested, neutralising pork barreling, and it will also produce an exponentially more educated citizenry, because all of us know all the laws, because they would actually be approving all of them, giving us a way to babysit conquests and advance culturally. Yeah, I absolutely agree. We, the people, should have final say on whether a bill passes or not. I mean, look how easy it was for Elon to run a poll and get everyone's input on Twitter issues. Exactly. You wouldn't need any bots then, would you? One person, one vote. Oh, I'm sure some people would try and hack it, wouldn't they? But one person, one vote, you could tell where each and every vote came from. And you know, you can't have more votes in the population, can you? I'm sure everyone would take the time to vote if you only had to press a button on your fucking phone. You know, and the other thing is as well, a lot of people don't vote in all countries around the world because they think it doesn't matter, it doesn't make any difference. You still put a wanker in that none of us voted for. Look at the shit state we're in the UK with people coming in. Our last two prime ministers, no one's voted for them, have they? Carrie Lake makes a quick statement here.
I'm just going to make a quick statement. I am so incredibly proud of our amazing attorneys and staff that put this amazing case together, historic case. We proved without a shadow of a doubt that there was malicious intent that caused disruption so great it changed the results of the election. I'm incredibly proud of both Brian Blem and Kurt Olson, who led up this legal team. We provided expert testimony. We provided experts. The other side brought in activists to try to save face. They admitted that they've known about these ballot problems. There's ballot problems. Now they're trying to say that it's been going on for 3 elections. Our elections are a mess in this country. And I am so happy to stand up and say, no longer will we as Americans put up with this. We demand fair, honest, transparent elections, and we will get them. And I pray so hard for this judge. I think that he really took in all of that information. I think he listened very closely to what happened. And I'm fighting for the people of Arizona, but not just for the people of Arizona. I'm fighting for the people of this country and for our future. If we don't have honest elections where we decide who represents us, then we don't have a country anymore. And the defendants, their attorney said it in his closing statement. He said, "We choose our rulers." Isn't that telling? This was a selection, not an election. And we in America choose who represents us. And we will restore honest elections. And I will never stop fighting. I will never stop fighting. So
yeah, good on her. Loads more to come with that. This is another speech from Trump about the border, I think.
Every single Republican should vote no on the ludicrous, unacceptable $1.7 trillion omnibus spending bill. It's a disaster for our country, and it also happens to be a disaster for the Republican Party, because they can stop it. Biden and the radical Democrats are trying to ram through this monstrosity in the dark of night when no one has even had a chance to read. It's over 4,000 pages crammed with left-wing disasters, Washington betrayals, and special interest sellouts, all designed to keep the corruption going without lifting a single finger to solve the problems that matter to hardworking families and Americans. The bill provides $1.9 billion for so-called border management to process illegal aliens and release them into our country, but it incredibly prohibits those funds from ever being used for border security to prevent illegal aliens from coming in the first place. And most importantly, we're giving $500 million to other countries for border security and for the building of walls. Can you believe this? But we're not allowed to use any money for border security or the building of walls. This bill will make the border worse. It will make crime worse. It will make the economy worse. It will make inflation worse. It will make every single one of Joe Biden's total catastrophes even more ruinous and damaging to our country. Our country is going to hell because of what they've done in the last 2 years. Passing a spending bill now, before Republicans take control of Congress on January 3rd, would squander our best chance to hold Biden fully accountable and force him to secure the border in the new year. Mitch McConnell, who is an absolute disaster, by the way, must not be allowed to waste this golden opportunity. He's more of a Democrat than a Republican. What he's doing to this party is incredible, and what he's doing to our nation is incredible. Call your congressmen and senators right now and tell them to vote no on Democrats' massive left-wing spending bill, and they have to do it now. Vote no.
Well, I didn't vote no. They voted yes and pushed it through, I think. I've got another little clip from Trump talking about the wall in a minute, but here's an old one from Kamala.
This Delta variant, it spreads faster, and it is in many cases reported to be much more serious in terms of its impact. And the vaccine will protect you from it. And here's how I know. Virtually every person who is in the hospital sick with COVID-19 right now is vaccinated. I'm going to repeat that. Virtually, it's a fact. Virtually every person who is in the hospital right now sick with COVID-19 is vaccinated. And even more, regrettably, virtually every person who has recently died from COVID-19 was vaccinated. The loss, the tragedy of that loss, literally every person who has died from COVID-19 that we have recently been seeing was vaccinated. So it is time, and it is time to roll up your sleeves and get the shot.
Does that make any sense to you whatsoever? Everyone that's in hospital at the time was vaccinated. Everyone that's dying is vaccinated. So now is never a better time to get vaccinated. The stuff that was coming out of these people's mouths was incredible, wasn't it? America first, deep state first. You should know this, people. Sam Bankman-Fried released after posing 250 million bail, couldn't make it up. Don't need to see that. He's just walking out to the car. Now this I thought was very interesting. A new study, this was Dr. Doug Corrigan on Twitter, a new study from Cleveland Clinic demonstrates that the risk of a COVID infection goes up with the number of doses of the jab. See graph below. They admit that this is unexpected and they call into question the effectiveness of mRNA. What follows are direct quotes from their paper. 2. The association of increased risk of COVID-19 with higher numbers of prior vaccine doses in our study was unexpected. A simplistic explanation might be that those who received more doses were more likely to be individuals at higher COVID risk-19. A smaller proportion of individuals may have fit this description. However, the majority of subjects in this study were generally young individuals and were eligible to have received at least 3 doses of vax by the study start date. Therefore, those who received fewer than 3 doses, above 45% of individuals in the study, were not those ineligible to receive the vaccine, but those who chose not to follow the CDC's recommendations on remaining updated with COVID-19 vaccination. And one could reasonably expect these individuals to have been more likely to have exhibited higher risk-taking behaviour. Despite this, their risk of acquiring COVID-19 was lower than with those who received a larger number of prior vaccine doses. This is not the only study to find possible association with more prior vaccine doses and higher risk of COVID-19. A large study found that those who had Omicron variant infection after previously receiving 3 doses of vaccine had a higher risk of reinfection than those who had an Omicron variant infection after previously receiving 2 doses of the vaccine. Another study found that receipt of 2 or 3 doses of mRNA vaccine following prior COVID-19 was associated with higher risk of reinfection than receipt of a single dose. They admit we still have a lot to learn about the protection from COVID-19 vaccination, and in addition to the vaccine's effectiveness, it is important to examine whether multiple vaccine doses given over time may not be having the beneficial effect that is generally assumed. 10. Also, they admit they cannot calculate the effectiveness of the bivalent vaccine to reduce severe disease because there wasn't enough people who demonstrated severe disease. References 12. Obviously, question: if COVID is innocuous enough now that severe disease is so rare that it can't even be detected in the vaccine effectiveness study, and the number of doses of said vaccine increased the risk of acquiring COVID, then why be injected? Said Dr. Doug Corrigan. Indeed. That's just a bit of a move from Trump there. Junior. Katie Lobb's lawyer giving a cringe closing statement where he says choosing your own, this is completely, well,
political malpractice. Who goes out and tells their voters, don't vote on day 1 of voting, early voting, day 2, day 3, all the way up to day 26 of early voting. Wait till the last second. That's political malpractice. You reap what you sow. Your Honor, the burden has not been met. When people come into this courtroom without evidence, there should be a day of reckoning. And this has been happening all over the country, Your Honor, and it's got to stop. And it's got to stop right now. And the place to stop it is right here in your courtroom, Your Honor, right here in Mesa, Arizona. This has got to stop. We got to get back to respecting elections because that's all we have, Your Honor. Different religions, different creeds, different ethnicities, different backgrounds. There's only one thing that makes us Americans, and that's we believe in choosing our own election, our own rulers, our own governors, our own mayors, our own presidents. And we do that through elections. And because of our forefathers' experience, those elections are split up. The 50 different states and all the different counties. And the legislature makes the rules, the counties follow the rules, you carry out the election, and you live with the results. If you lose, you live to fight another day. You don't go into court and spew conspiracy theories and spill sour grapes. Thank you, Your Honor.
Yeah, another one. I mean, what he said basically at the start there was you don't tell your fan base to not vote, do you, and all go out and vote on the same day. It was not what happened at all, was it? It's basically people were so aware and awakened to the fact of this election rigging that they all wanted to go out and vote on the day, which is when most people do it anyway. It's, you know, you have a vote of one day and you go out and vote on that day. And that's what everyone did. And this geezer here is trying to put a massive spin on it, as usual. Bit of Andrew Tate. Oh, he's just talking about the election being rigged there. We all know it. We all seen it. Biden is a traitor. This is Lara Logan. Biden is a traitor who initiated the invasion of America. Ducey, Doug Ducey, governor of Texas, is a hapless clown who tried at the last minute to fake it. Right, Arizona to remove the shipping containers wall from Mexico border. Now, where this is this? I don't think this is new. This is Arizona will take down. Oh, it is the makeshift wall made of shipping containers on the Mexico border, settling a lawsuit and political tussle with the U.S. government over trespassing on federal land. Basically, the Biden administration want open border and complete and utter chaos, which will aid them in bringing in the New World Order, their New World Order, their New World Order. Oopsie from Maricopa, smoking gun alert. Maricopa County confirms printer settings were changed on election day at multiple locations. This was intentional sabotage and people need to go to jail. So, yeah, eyes on. This case is still being deliberated, isn't it? Don't really like doing stuff for Piers Morgan, but
Russian state television have issued a brazen warning that Moscow could wipe out Britain with a nuclear tsunami in retaliation for supporting Ukraine, declaring there would be no survivors.
In Britain, they seem to be rambling. Why do they threaten vast Russia with nuclear weapons while they are only a small island? Why do they play games? Another option is to plunge Britain into the depths of the sea using Russian underwater robotic drone Poseidon. The explosion of this torpedo close to Britain's shores will raise a giant wave, a tsunami up to 500 meters. This tidal wave is also a carrier of extremely high doses of radiation. Surging over Britain, it will turn what is left of them into radioactive deserts.
There are some new concerns out of Russia this morning as well. A nuclear-capable Russian submarine set to carry a one-of-its-kind nuclear device has left its base near the Arctic Circle.
An Italian newspaper says it got its hands on a NATO warning about the Belgorod. That's the submarine. Russia is most likely testing a torpedo that uses nuclear power.
Now, I did say in the last episode, I believe, because I know I said it on a phone call as well, that I don't think a nuclear scare would wake the people now. However, I think that would. So let's see what happens. If I get a 4-minute warning, I'm going to pour myself a glass of wine. Impending, the largest missile attack on Ukraine should be expected in the next 48 hours or Christmas morning. We have witnessed extremely heightened movement of the Russians' Black Sea Fleet. All submarines are out of port. Unusual divergent movement of the Russian destroyers. Sevastopol is completely empty. Russian strategic bombers are all out of its bases and hangars. That was from the Aquila Telegram channel. It was really good to follow if you want to see troop deployment and what we're allowed to see and stuff all over the planet and where the battleships are and a lot of planes and things like that. Last month I made 40 billion working from home. Learn how, says Zelensky. Now, I don't normally post stuff like this, but this is Scavino. Doing another dog-con video. Now, he's done loads of these. There was one that's a 5-year delta and stuff that's just come up. But I just want to say it's quite funny because if you listen to X22 today, Dave basically says Scavino's done another dog-con. Now, either there's a lot of communications going on here, or he just really likes dogs. And I did laugh when I heard that. Maybe you won't laugh as much as I did, but There you go. Anyway, we should all pray for Judge Thompson in Arizona, who has the weight of the world on his shoulders in making a decision in the Lake v. Hobbs trial. Yeah, this is the guy here. He's out the back at the moment, deliberating, whatever, making a decision. So hopefully he's going to go, the election was fraudulent. We need to redo it. The truth has no defense against the fool determined to believe a lie. Mark Twain. Yeah. This is how Rome felt. Lloyd Austin, go back to drugs. Marines may ban the use of sir and ma'am to avoid misgendering superiors. Ridiculous. Absolute ridiculous. Just so you know, Sam Bankman-Fried, dissolution captor, didn't really pay a $250 million bail. He paid nothing. His parents put up a $4 million home and he walked. Everything they tell you is always a lie. Let me just have a look at the comments on that. Yeah, no, I don't want to go into all that comments and stuff now, really. Yeah, so this is Zelensky. Zelensky holds an American flag that was gifted to him by Pelosi. The flag was flown over the Capitol earlier in the day. Right, now, some people are saying that flag is quite wrinkled, but I think there's lettering on it. Is that lettering? Is that words on that? Well, whatever. It looks pretty wrinkled any day. Anyway, doesn't it? Now, Zelensky's addressed the joint meeting. We have artillery. Is it enough? Honestly, not really. Right? If so, just like the Battle of, and then the Battle of, someone that I've made in the next one, I think. No, did I put it down here then? Yeah, pretty sure the Battle of Saratoga isn't what old Zelensky wants to be quoted. The Battle of Saratoga, no coincidence, Benedict Arnold was there, old traitor. And also, no coincidence, our first constitution was founded a month after the last of this battle. It's the little things, 100%. And that is Derek Johnson. So, this was damaged as well. It had a big dent in it. Do you remember Biden driving around in that car that hadn't had a wash? Right. Benedict Arnold on January 14th of January, he fought with distinction for American Continental Army and rose to rank as Major General before detecting the British side of 1780. There's more clues. Are we looking into this too much or not? I don't think so. Let's see what happens. Yeah, 12/22/22, modern day Perry Mason. So LT does a really good catch up properly of the Hobbs trial, Katie Lake Hobbs trial. And here's another. What happens if Biden became POTUS, knowing he, through Hunter +1, took massive amounts of bribes to change, look the other way, US policy towards Ukraine in favor of Ukraine? Would Ukraine own and control the White House? You tell me. I mean, madness, isn't it? A couple of bits from Trump. The FBI used Twitter and Facebook to bludgeon the 2020 election to Biden. Nothing negative could be said about him, especially as it related to Hunter's laptop from hell, and only negative could be said about me. They were illegally after Trump at a level of ferocity, hate, and yes, desperation that has never been seen in our country before. Other media companies were involved also. The change in the election was complete and total, with millions of votes switched, at least 17%. Trump won, and big. So we caught the government of the United States through the use of the FBI and other agencies conclusively and irrefutably cheating on the 2020 presidential election and completely and illegally changing its result. This was only one of many forms of cheating, but frankly, it was a beaut. The FBI has no excuse. They were caught cold, but this must not become a cold case. Now what? honest and brave prosecutors and judges must step up and clean out this cancer, which is destroying our once great country. The government of the United States changed our election result, and it just doesn't get any worse than that. Just look at the damage that's been done to our country and the world in the last 2 years is incalculable. Trump won. Yeah, there we go. UK was the first country in the world to approve a useless COVID pill. Professor Cliff Butler of the University of Oxford. Yeah, the pill for COVID does not reduce risk of hospitalisation or death, UK study finds, as more and more information gets dropped out. So, that's a good catch up. I ain't got to do anything tomorrow. Although, pending what happens, I might be on at 5 o'clock briefly. I did an early one today, which is what no one's watching, because the whole of the fan club must be waiting excitedly for 5 o'clock tomorrow. Yeah. Where we go one, we go all. Keep on it. Let's hope something happens soon. I don't want to be doing this the rest of my life. And I hope everyone has a really, really lovely and happy Christmas.